8 vitórias, mas o Brasil está rapidamente a voltar ao normal, 5 vitórias. Nos últimos 5 anos, nos últimos 6 anos, 4 vezes que o Brasil ganhou. Incluindo 2016 jogos eletrônicos e depois 3 anos de vitória brasileira. E atenção, quando não estava a apresentar a série, quando ela estava a eu lembro de ir na frequência de 2017, porque foi a única dobradinha do campeonato de Portugal, que é sem dúvida a sua pista com mais sucesso aqui no championnat. Os 3 finais com 2 vitórias, 2018 e 2019. E o ano passado não viu o brasileiro vencer, mas estava vitória. O atual campeão mundial do Griffin Colby, que vai cumprir esta parte. Será uma segunda batalha a realizar. Vai finalizar a ronda da sexta. Não tem que ser feito. 10 minutos para darmos início então ao primeiro das 2 baterias. Para nós vir com 7 minutos. We'll spend our 10 minutes for the start of the kick-off with 8:50 on 32. One of the 2 hits will take place this afternoon. Aproveito também para dizer-vos que o Pedro só previsões a fazer esta semana. Eu, se tivesse que colocar as fichas, eu acho que um dia para ver este cartão, sem dúvida muito obrigado. Não quero dizer por isso que ela nem seja o tempo igual, mas as previsões também não quero virar as previsões com muito respeito para ela. E por si será a publicação dessa gala, tem uma enorme representação, provavelmente sol a sol, da publicação masculina, da publicação feminina. Talvez, inclusive, eu fizer novamente o sistema de Automatic Hits, que depois a condição também. Olhando assim para as previsões, claro, isto não é oficial, é que eu quero muito mais, eu não gostaria de obrigar a mim, provavelmente, a melhor dia de sempre que as festas não estarem, ainda temos bastante competição para ver. A competição masculina. 8 unidades esta volta de hoje. Teremos uma dúvida de posições. Como se fosse jantar de fora. Na competição feminina estamos já a começar os mais. Veremos já as quartas de final. 2 dedos no field. E uma derrota. E quem acha que mais de hoje também bateu de uma maneira incrível. Porque eu tenho a chance a quem saber. A atual dona de branco, que já 5 vezes campeão mundial. E foi com 2 manobras fortíssimas que ele diferenciou o Brasil. Basicamente, esse é o atleta dos manobras. 5 e 1 set só foi o seu primeiro ano, o set daqui em Portugal. Depois, rematou com uma ligação de 6 pontos, muito snap daqui em Portugal. Eu tenho uma chance de ver. Number 7 minutes to start. Number 7 minutes to start. Remaining hits over 132. That means that after the round decrease, there's still around 60 left for the men's event. The ladies are multiple pounds already. Attention, this will be a test. The brothers in the water, they're going to test the level. They're going to test the level. Será agora o início da bateria, será com o teste. Will not be the start of the heat. That's the test. That's the level. For the first circles out there, please. That's a test. That's a test. Okay. For the first circles out there, please start in the completion area. Now we just overlapping as the start. Muito bem, facilidades. Looking at the forecast. Down to superficial level. It's going to be a very early start. What looks like an epic forecast for today. to start. 5 minutes to start. Remaining 3 surfers at the line, please leave the area now. There's now only 4 minutes to start, and the 4 minutes to start. Everybody please leave the competition area. Thank you. Follow the instructions from the water patrol. There are 3 minutes to start, and the 3 minutes to start, no more surfing is allowed to lock their positions. Our remaining 3 surfers can lean out, please. Técnicos, como fazemos todos os dias, quero um agradecimento especial a todos os locais, a todos os surfers. Uma vez mais, muito obrigado por causa do agradecimento.
Stop 3 on the Championship Tour welcomes the world's best surfers back to European shores. It's the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal, presented by Corona. And we're back live from Peniche, the iconic thumping beach break of Super 2 Boss. And a couple of cracking heats on our hand this afternoon. A little period on hold, getting everything ready in terms of tides. And we're excited about getting back underway here with the men. Joining myself, Paul Evans, in the studio to talk you through it. Jesse Mendez and Peter Mel. How are we doing, chaps?
We're doing great. We had a little time to go and rest for a bit and come back here, and it looks like the waves are great, and we're excited for what's to come.
Beautiful nap. It was great. About an hour. Nice
Feeling
little
fresh?
sleep. Feeling good.
Little spring in your step.
Little Red Bull now. Ready to go.
Importantly, tide, that's filled in. More opportunities for the surfers. That's what we want.
Yeah, exactly. And on the walk up, you could see rights, lefts. It looked like actually a really fun surf, especially for the 4 surfers that we're going to have on tap for this afternoon. It's going to be exciting.
Pretty confident about getting back on. Let's go and get the official call from Louisa.
Yeah, guys, and I don't think it was just you who took a nap. It seems like all the surfers took their own sweet time to take a nap and come back. What's the call for today, Renato?
We're back home. We're back on, and we're starting with those 2 hits of men of round of 32, and we're going to finish that round to start tomorrow on a clean slate. So Gabriel Medina and Seth Moniz in hit 15, and Jackson Baker and oh my God, I went blanking. And Griffin Pinto in the last hit of the day. We're giving these guys 40-minute hits, so plenty of time for them to chase the waves. Incoming tide and building swell. Still on short winds, but it's the game probably going to be on the air. So air game and hopefully some barrels too. it's on.
That's it, guys. Let's do it.
Thanks so much. We are game on here. A 3-time world champ in the water already. The crowd in full voice as he ran down those images you saw just before, taking on Seth Meniz. And this will be no easy heat for Gabriel. Seth has got firepower weaponry in the air, Jesse.
Yes, and what's interesting as we speak right now, it's straight on shore, so that's kind of pretty fair for both guys trying to boost on their forehand. So there's not really an advantage for any of them. So yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Pete, what we've seen in the couple of heats that he surfed so far from Medina, maybe not gone through the gears as yet. He's got plenty more in the tank.
He sure does. And I watched this morning's early free surf. He had a couple waves looking really loose for that early in the morning. I mean, it was literally in the dark, not one to, you know, like looking at Gabe, the early morning surfs generally can be a little bit stiff and you know, feel like you need to warm up, but he was firing all cylinders. And I think now with this afternoon, again, if you look at what we have on tap here, it's like 4 to 6 foot. There's still some bombs out there, plenty of power, and exactly what Jesse was saying with this onshore wind, you'd see some opportunity to go above the lip, and we expect it from both of these guys.
40-minute heats is the call, but not overlapping, and the decision there just to make things even. Everyone has the same amount of time in the water.
I don't personally know. I mean, I as a commissioner of the Big Wave, I actually experimented with all sorts of different lengths of heats, and sometimes they get too long. 40 minutes is as long as I remember for a championship tour heat. I think maybe there's other ones, you know, sometimes, but generally that's a pretty long one. Half an hour is generally what you have, 35 minutes, but yeah, an extra 5 minutes, and I think this one's for the fans. That's what I think it's for.
Yeah, and even though we have a very long heat, it looks like Gabriel's right on top of him. They're already kind of paddle battling. And if you look at the lineup right now, there's so many options on the beach everywhere, but he's really trying to apply some pressure pretty early in the heat.
So you mentioned that wind blowing pretty much straight on shore, west-southwest, something like that. And so far we've had the air wind blowing into the right-handers, and now this will be open up the left as well. And we're hoping to see fireworks in this one. Both of these two got a huge weaponry.
Yes, and that's pretty exciting. Like you said, it was blowing pretty much the whole contest into the right, but usually here we have north winds, which the guys come here expecting to do airs into the left. But now pretty even playing field, and yeah, we're going to see some big airs hopefully.
Well, the crowd behind Medina in big ways here in Portugal. Obviously the world champs come into heats quite often as favourites, but just for what we've seen today and what we've seen in this event, maybe the form guide, the kind of status, the ranking, that sort of thing, it's not necessarily to watch here. We've seen a few upsets, right?
We have, and you don't want to be part of the upset realm, right? Because it does get contagious. It seemed like that very first elimination round was filled with a bunch of top seeds. They ended up, a few of them got through there, some lost out. We saw this morning some big top seeds going down. So it is part of the trend of this event. Gabriel hopefully does not want to be part of that.
Seth Meniz comes into this one ranked 8th after a pretty decent campaign over in Hawaii. Getting things kicked off.
Yeah, pair of ninths, which is, you know, again, this is the heat after this round, and that is the cut line. You get into this one here, you get through it, you're pretty much going to make the cut. I mean, a pair of ninths got you 8th in the rankings. That seems pretty good.
Started off last year really, really strong, of course, making that final at Pipeline. And this year on tour, looking to back up with those performances and demonstrate what he can do at various venues all around the world. He's got a tough heat on his hands right now. Meanwhile, this is what we got to this morning with the round that we ran, the round of 16. Here's the bracket for the women's quarterfinal, and a few surprises in there, a couple of raised eyebrows.
Yes, it was interesting to see. Actually, a lot of the top 10 fell off on the women's side, and that's actually given a good opportunity for those girls that are below on the rankings to climb up. And we're definitely going to have a very good scratch for the cut in the end of the Margaret River event.
Pete, we lost one of our yellow jerseys for the women. Carissa Moore's out.
Yeah, she is, and that was a big one. Yolanda Hopkins surfed so well in that heat in really challenging conditions. We never really saw Carissa really even get into that heat. It just felt like Yolanda was finding everything. Every time there was Carissa's tried to get an answer there, Yolanda would answer as well. So good on her. It's a big win for her this morning, and now a quarterfinal berth. You know, could be the event of her lifetime.
Also, Stephanie Gilmore, who got her season really kick-started here in Portugal, had nothing coming into this event, surfed really well out here, and really got things fired up with a big performance and result in Portugal. Not this time.
Yeah, maybe she just likes that extra pressure going into Oz, you know.
Which is deadly there, right? Coming into Bells, it's such a good venue for her. Actually, every Vanya is very good. She's so consistent and have so many moves for her to do. So yeah.
Well, she's going to need to make some heats. Meanwhile, let's pick up the live here. Medina having a paddle, looking at a right-hander. There's the wide stance, projecting down the line, looking for a ramp or a lip to take on. Doesn't find one. So after extending our heat timeout to 40 minutes, we lost the first 5 without a wave. Then we get a first one. It'll be a small, relatively inconsequential number for Medina.
Well, it's funny because these guys they were sitting right on top of each other. They were battling for that first wave. Gabriel ends up with it, but nothing going. So now priority is in order, and they can, now kind of find their own part of the beach.
Yes, I almost like the fact that Gabriel already rode that first wave, so that kind of, we might be looking at Seth. No, so that just kind of breaks them apart, right? So now priority set, and they're just going to try and look for their own waves until probably by the end of the heat try to play some strategy.
Seth having a paddle here. We'll see that peak stand up from above, and he goes into a late drop and tries to pull in. Struggle to get the speed to match the down the line speed of the wave. So a couple of relative false starts from these two in this heat. Medina on the hunt. You just saw him pouring into that wave, just kind of looking down on it. Let's see if he'll go the one behind. He's paddling wide to reposition. He'll swing it. Here's Medina again on the backhand. The late drop gives you an idea of the size and the energy out there. Has to be patient off the bottom. Puts it up easy as you like with the floats. And then a snap on the backhand with some tail release as well. And the crowd like it.
Not quite the crowd we had yesterday, as we're on a Monday here, Monday afternoon, but it is happy hour, getting to that point of the day. So we'll probably see some more folks down here, but definitely a very vocal crowd, especially for this band in the red. They love Gabriel Medina down here.
Yes, and that was a great ride for Gabriel. As we see here, he was a little bit late to the party, took off a little late, but he was able to swing around and do that floater. And right there, look how much speed he generates on the bottom turn. Just really gave him time to open up and finish strong. So that was a great start for Gabriel on that wave.
Tough wave to ride, right? Can see how he had to pump the bottom turn and actually hop to get around it. And then the float, but that projection was able to gain a lot of speed to be able to finish that move there. And that's just a great technique from Gabriel Medina. He can just do it. I mean, you think about what he can do on his backhand at a place like backdoor. You had mentioned how he's been regarded as probably one of the best ever at backdoor, and I totally agree with that. And I don't know what it is that he has so special there, but he just has this really good read on it, on the backhand barrels. He knows how to get in there, and it's not like he's doing anything where you're just like, what is he doing that's so special? But it's just his read more than anything, I think.
Sunset too, right?
Yeah.
No hands at sunset in the barrel. Unbelievable.
It really is. He's just got this sense. He's one of the best barrel riders in the world, both backhand and forehand. And like you said, it's not easy on the backhand for sure.
Number in for Gabriel, 4.33. Relatively modest number in for him, but nevertheless, it's the weightier number that we've seen so far. Seth Meniz having a little look. You can just see on that shot, that wobble that goes up the face. We've got a real powerful ocean coming in. This pretty much straight west swell hits this shallow sandbar, and then that rip, Jesse, which is basically meaning as you're paddling, you're kind of moving up and down, and it is going to take a few swings of the arms to get down these waves.
Yes, and because, like you said, it comes from a very deep water, the speed that the wave comes here, the speed that the swell comes is very fast. So with that rip going through the lineup, it makes it even tougher. So they're definitely going to have to be on their A game and just positions themselves very well. As you saw Gabe on his last wave, even though he surfed very well, he was kind of a little late, and he probably had a little bit more scoring opportunity on that wave.
It's interesting to think about the angle of our surfers as they paddle in, not really able to aim down the line. They've got to go drop straight down the wave first on these steeper walls. Here's Seth Meniz, tags it hard, and then recovers with a couple of pumps next to a whitewater section. He'll just stick with this, see if he can get a little finish on the inside, which he does. So a good hit out the back from him, a smaller section inside. We do have the Red Bull jet ski assist because it is still pretty solid out there. So worth surfing all the way through to the inside. Let's get a look.
Nice first section here. Seems like that was a better maneuver. The very first maneuver doesn't really get a second one. I mean, here it kind of taps the whitewater. So in comparison to the 4.33 Very similar. I feel like they're going to be pretty similar scores. You know, one judge will probably go one. You know, it feels like it's just going to be a mid-4. Hopefully, it doesn't count at the end of this one.
Yeah, I thought it was impressive, though, the way he was actually able, right there when he landed that turn, the section was so far ahead of him, and he just kind of stays very low to his board and let the board glide through that whitewash, and he made it around pretty nicely. I thought he was done after that turn, and he was actually able to move and catch a little extra bonus turn right there for him.
Judges don't take too long to throw a score. 383 is the number for Seth Moniz. So slightly under by half a point, actually, what Gabriel was able to do on the backhand.
Yeah, so it's the combination of major moves, right? That's part of the criteria that we look at. You know, is the floater, drop down, and then the tail whip. So the difference being, you know, the bottom turn, top turn didn't get that second maneuver right out of the gate. So no combo there. That's that slight difference of a half a point.
Under half, well, 29 minutes remaining in this one. And no real big numbers on the board just yet. These two just still figuring out this lineup after a bit of a tentative start. First 5 minutes, no waves ridden. And we talked about the relative difficulty of navigating a jet ski out here. And this one doing a little bit of work to make it a safe water.
Yes, that I think Pete would be even better to explain to me because he's way more used to riding skis. I'm not at all, but I think what makes it so tough here is just the wave breaks very close to the beach, so the transition is very tight from the sand and the waves breaking, so it's probably very hard for them to maneuver through the waves, and also just waves kind of breaking everywhere in the lineup.
We're keeping a close eye on Medina and Seth Moniz from the studio. Strider, what does it look like from the Red Bull Athlete Zone?
It's, you know, it's pretty quiet down here, and you know, I was looking around thinking about, okay, who's here, what's going on, checking it out, and then literally disguised back there behind the rowing machine is Griffin Colapinto, stuffed himself back against the wall, and he's actually found himself a little place to just disappear, and that's what he's done. He's just meditating in his own little zone. It was just like you could have walked by him 100 times and not actually seen him over there. He's just blended in just like the equipment, but that's what you have to do as an athlete, right? You find your own space, you get comfortable, and you get into that headspace that you need to go out and compete. Out on the deck here at the Red Bull Athlete area, Molly Picklum, our current #1 on the women's side, watching heats as well. So, you know, it's not packed in here, but they're down here doing the work, and I love to see that.
Yes, I think that was actually very interesting that he mentioned that because last year I saw him do that before every heat, and in kind of the same zone. He was right by the bikes, and I wonder if he's trying to keep the same mojo because last year he ended up winning this event, and it looked like exact the same image that I had in my head.
He's got the same bar wax, the same leash, same board.
You won't
colored
be
differently.
surprised.
I just got the word on the board that's colored is the green board that he won in El Salvador, but he had to paint it. And he changed it and gave it a new vibe by painting it.
I'll be very surprised if he's not having the exact same amount of oregano sprinkles on his Tosta Mister as well.
We
Just
are very
keep the routines the same.
superstitious as surfers, very much so. I know that if you get on a roll, you don't want to change anything. You're like, I don't want to upset this thing. I got to keep it, you know, perfect. And you know, he's been doing that. We saw Zhao Xianca, Jack Robinson, all utilizing meditation before heats just to get centered.
Well, anytime Medina hits the water, big energy from the crowd on the beach here in Portugal. Louisa, you down on the beach. How's it looking? How's it feeling?
Guys, you remember this morning I was with this cozy rip curl jacket, all cozied up, and I was taking it off because the sun came out. As you can see, the crowd never fails in Peniche. And, you know, I'm always like a butterfly floating around the athlete zone just to bring you the juicy, juicy information. I was talking to Medina. He arrived really early this morning. The sun wasn't even out, too, and he surfed with Italu. And during our break, he went back home. He took a nap, and he felt pretty pumped to go in the water right now. And he said he was okay with these conditions, you know. And funny enough, I arrived with Seth Moniz. We got a ride from the pickup truck, and he just dropped us off. He was in great spirit. He also went out for a free surf, and he was feeling good. But I am curious, who are this crowd here for? Let's check it out. Guys, who are you cheering for? Para quem vocês estão torcendo?
Gabriel Medina.
It never fails, you see? Who are you cheering for? Medina. Guys, I want to know who you are cheering for. Like, how's the fantasy picks going on right now? Tell me.
Well, Louisa, I don't think there are many people who do fantasy that don't have Gabriel Medina in their team. I got friendly fire in this heat.
Yeah.
I'm conflicted.
I don't have either one.
Okay.
I hope they just
No love for Medina,
surprise
Pete.
us with great surfing. That's what I want to see.
Let's check the replay of the last wave from Gabrielle.
Beautiful hook on the top there, right? And then again, combination major moves. That's going to be the best number of the heat by far, and gets a third, drifting a little bit. No completion there, so the credit will be due to those first 2 turns. But I would say those were powerful. Look at this one, Jess.
Yeah, that was great. Right in the pocket, right in the money right there, and just straight into the second one. So didn't have to pump or anything, just straight driving through his fins and his rails. And right there, unfortunately, he ended up getting stuck, but the damage was already done.
Finishing with a bit of a flourish on that white water, but as you mentioned, Jesse, big turns on the outside. 6.33 from the panel. Seth Meniz just gliding over the top of one. He looked for a big section with some lip to hit, didn't find it, and he'll just kick out. Meanwhile, all right, this one's fired up now. Medina, little check turn to start off with, and then he'll go try and pull in, and he tries to get away from the board and just punch through the back. And we're hoping he gets a lot more waves ridden with that kind of rhythm, because this one is heated up now with the scores coming in and lots more opportunity out there.
How's all that backwash too? You can see like there's like 2-foot swells coming out from the shoreline, which makes things very challenging. And it feels like, you know, with even the onshore breeze here, as we watch this one, he sets this up and he comes into it trying to not grab real quick, and then just never got the rail. And it felt like he just, everything turned him into the face and went down.
Yeah, that was an awkward fall from Gabriel. You don't usually see him doing that, those types of mistakes. It was kind of simple. Even though if he pulled in that barrel, it looked like he was going to chandelier on him, but he ended up even falling before that.
Well, he's been identifying certainly the better waves so far in this 40-minute heat. We're still a couple of minutes away from the halfway points. Loads of time for Seth Meniz to get something going. All alone right now in the lineup. Medina looked like he was trying to paddle back out when he calls a Red Bull ski over and try and pick up a ride to get back out. They just conserve the energy.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than what we're doing here because of the fact that we have such tight interval and so hard to stay inside. Usually we'll have the skis stay on the inside. You can just pick them up from that and head out. So they're coming from the corner. So you have to actually wave, and then that wave is going to be talked to by Antonio, who is running the skis, and then they come in and pick you up. So there's time, you know, about probably, you know, it depends on that, 30 to 40 seconds before they'll actually come in and grab you. It's still probably quicker than paddling out, you know, especially if you're down at that kind of north end or south end of the beach, because it's a lot more challenging to get out there.
Checking out the leaderboard, these two tied for 8th. That means same results, and we'll get quite a few surfers with that just after 2. After this event, it'll tend to split the pack up, Pete.
It sure is. You know, you only had 2 events so far, so you're going to get a lot of ties. We had it at the very top of the leaderboard on the women's side. We had 2 yellow jerseys. That has changed. Molly Picklum will keep that jersey. Even with the results that everyone has today, she's still going to be wearing the yellow jersey going into Oz. So a young sophomore on tour is going to be in the yellow jersey. Pretty cool.
All right, just over 21 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in this. It's Gabriel Medina at the moment with the better of it. Seth Meniz is chasing a number. Loads of time for him to get it. Join us for more live action from Portugal. 3-time world champion in the water. We'll be right back.
Gabriel is the guy to beat. He's definitely looking really focused on winning this event. You can see he's really confident, you know, considering his results. But he's still human and beatable.
I really want to be in the top 5. But the other guys, they have like a few events, head start. To get there, I have to get in the final here.
Sun's out on a Monday afternoon in Portugal. Plenty of swell still in the water. Also in the water, the 3-time world champ Gabriel Medina at the moment. Got a bit of a lead over Seth Moniz of Hawaii. Not a huge one, but the requirement for Seth, 6.83, just over 19 minutes to go in this. Let's get a look at the last wave of Seth, Jesse.
Yes, let's have a look on that one. Nice opening turn right there. It looked like he found a nice clean wave and just finishing very strong. That was very cool, and maybe a little extra. Yeah, more of a fun climb, but the damage was done on this first 2 turns.
Looking at this again, okay, backhand, a little different, but very similar style wave that Gabriel Medina had earlier. You know, big 2-turn combo. You know, in relation to the speed, I mean, just trying to find the subtle differences. It feels like a little stronger and faster out of Gabriel Medina, so he might have the slight edge there.
And on the other hand, right there, it looked like he was, oh, Gabriel up and riding right now.
Medina on a left here in the pocket, stinging snap with a ton of spray, little wrapping hook from him. And coming onto an inside, he'll find a little section and he'll just throw out the tail above the lip and collect again. So not a massive boost on the inside from Gabriel, but he'll just keep plugging away here. And I think in terms of tactics, going right, going left, not necessarily waiting for bombs, just taking any opportunity comes his way.
Yes, that was a great snap for Gabriel. Nice release and just very good flow in between those sections right here. Like you said, it wasn't that big of a boost, but that was definitely a finish with an exclamation point. And he could have done maybe a little carva snap, but he did throw the tail. And as you see right here, just pushing the back foot, driving through the turn and straight into a nice kind of carve and finishing off pretty strong.
Yeah, just creative, right? I mean, using the backwash, just doing something a little funky, just to add to it. It kind of leaves you with a good taste in your mouth. That just layback hook, just straight up vertical approach into it. Not much on the second maneuver there, just more of a transition cutback. Like you mentioned here, this little, using the backwash, riding backwards, being creative, we love it.
Medina recovering that on the inside. It just feels like he's squeezing every last drop of juice out of these sections as they come through. His maneuver selection, he's shown us variety. Each of his turns are a bit distinct and different. Just maybe ratcheting up that physical emphasis, a little bit more energy in his turns by contrast from Seth Moniz. And he does have the lead in this. He'll improve his backup score, the 4.43. Numbers in for Seth, it's good though, 5.67. And he's brought his requirement down. So looking for a 5-1 right now, also with priority.
Again, 2-turn combo for both the 6.33 and this 5.67, but a half-point difference, right? So that just little extra speed in those, you know, acceleration in the maneuvers, that's where the judges saw the difference. And it's difference by just a half a point.
It's small margins in our heat number 15 of the round of 32. A really enticing clash. Started off a little slow. This one's warming up. The scores are nudging up too. No real surprise there. Seth Moniz with priority. He'll be looking for a wave. I'm certainly sure he won't be looking to get a 5 because he'll know he'll need to go as high as he can up the scale. He's surfing against Gabriel Medina, who's ever deadly. Just in terms of Gabriel's form from what we've seen so far this year, Jesse, obviously we saw a bit of him last year. He took some time away from the tour. Is he back to the old Medina? Is there something new about him? Where is he compared to our kind of mental reference from a couple of seasons back?
Yes, I actually spoke with him in Hawaii. We had a little one-on-one session at Off the Wall, this little left, and we're surfing and just chatting a bit. And he told me that he's 100% in this year. It's Olympic qualification year, and he wants back in. Obviously, missing a lot of events last year, so he felt that, you know, him as a competitor by nature, just loves being here and swinging on a good challenge. So yeah, he's back 100% in.
As you remember, in the beginning of the season, it was like, we're taking a year off, right? that was the whole thing. With like a 1 full year, really? Okay. It didn't take that long before he was already wanting to come back, and that's what it was. You know, it was only a couple months before he was back on tour, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Wow, I'm going to make the top 5," which was a pretty, hefty goal at that point in time because he had missed so much of the year.
Gabriel inspires fans across Portugal and all around the world. Let's find out who he looks to for inspiration as we are celebrating International Women's Day with Rip Curl. Let's hear from Gabriel.
This year I picked Marta from Brazil team, women's Brazil team. She's so inspiring. She's brave. She's the best in the world. And I'm so proud she's Brazilian as well, just like me, so yeah, Marta is my pick.
Great. Why is it that all the soccer players, the legendary soccer players, only have one name? Pele, Marta.
That's a good point. I never thought about it. Yeah, Ronaldo.
Right?
That's your reward when you get good. You get good and then you get really good and you get to only use one name.
Okay, Gabs. Is that going to be, are we going to stick that one there?
Just under 12 to go in this. Medina with the lead thus far. Seth Peniche chasing the number 5-1. We saw during that cross away from Gabriel, went for the punt on the forehand, got pretty high and upside down, doesn't land it.
Yeah, that was very close though. That was nice attempt for him, and right there, just what happened right there, as you see, his board actually got almost a longer rotation than he did, a little bit faster than he did, and his body was stuck. So he, as soon as he board landed, his fin engaged, and the board wanted to switch all the way around, and he kind of got with his body stuck, and he just wasn't able to go as fast as the board.
Didn't help with all the suds there too as well, right? You'd like to have a little clearer landing.
Probably anticipated seeing a few more attempts like that in this heat. We've had nearly half hour of it. Not seen loads of punts from Gabriel. That's a reflection of the sort of scoring opportunities on offer. So last minute council going on there. We saw Tommy Witts with Griff. This is Mitchell Ross with Jacko Baker. Taking it all in, trying to take a little bit of information on from what's going in the water right now in this heat, and maybe just kind of they had a plan coming into this peak, but also just taking on that intelligence of where the scores are coming from here.
I'm going to ask the panel here just a little question in regards to coaching. When did it kind of become necessary? I'm trying to think back of who was like the first top competitors that were bringing a coach on, and the first person that comes to my mind is Mick Fanning, right? I mean, you think about someone that had somebody on site with them that was going to help them to bring them on tour. Phil, right?
Phil McNamara,
yeah,
from Surfing Queensland.
Right, that would kind of be the first real coach. Is there anyone else that comes to mind?
I think you guys will be able to answer that better than I do. So I think I'll
Taj
leave
with
this
Johnny
one to you
Gannon,
guys.
same kind of era.
Yeah.
Johnny wasn't so much coaching the surfing or the mental
think about
side.
it now,
that was
though,
more
it's pretty
physical.
much part of the deal. You have somebody there that's going to be, kind of in your ear and helping you. I mean, obviously we've had caddies over the years, but like specifically before he kind of talks, there's, I mean, pretty much everyone on tour has somebody they're working with.
Yeah, check that out right there.
Ooh, what happened?
We got a little paddle. I think Seth was just trying to block him. He was too late, but he probably identified that wave was very good for Gabriel. So he just put his head out there, and Gabriel had to pull back, and Gabriel kind of was asking for his priority back.
Here goes Seth on the backhand. It's a closeout, so just a quick look at it, and he'll dip out. Gabriel gets priority.
And it's an interesting thing is like, so you're thinking about when you lose priority, you have to have a committed paddle, but there's also the blocking portion of it, which is exactly what happened there. It didn't seem like Seth had the full committed paddle, but what he did do by having that priority, he blocked Gabe from catching that wave, and that's why you see priority switch. So basically it's blocking.
So Medina now with that first priority. So far in this heat, just the way it's slightly unruly on that, it doesn't necessarily feel like priority come into play as much as other times, and maybe cleaner conditions, a bit more defined. It does feel like there are opportunities a little more spread out, but obviously you'd much rather have first choice when a good wave comes through.
Yes, and also even though we have a very big playing field, mostly today it seems like the surfers have been kind of surfing the same spot because there's a lot of rip and a lot of movement of the ocean on the other side of it. So it seems like the whole heat they've been sticking to the left side of the scaffolding.
It's also, when you're doing, when you're having a one-on-one heat, you always want to kind of stay in the same region as your competitor and have the same kind of waves. Unless you have something super special that you're going to want to chase, at a different part of the lineup, ultimately you want to compete kind of in the same region as your competitor.
Just revisiting your coach chat, where are we putting Belly and Kelly? Not really a coach, was he, Belly? More of a confidant.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a certain level. I mean, if you're just like, hey, what do you see here? I mean, it's just a board to bounce stuff off of, you know, right? And if you trust that person, you know, it's just kind of happened over time where now pretty much everyone has got somebody they're working with.
And rarely ever, too, even if you don't have a coach and you have a friend by you, like you said, it's just a second opinion, someone that knows, someone you trust. And yeah,
knows your surfing, knows how you're doing, can pick up on board stuff if it feels like, hey man, that thing looked long, you know, and like you don't know it necessarily unless you, you know, watch a lot of video, or even sometimes it feels good and your friend's like, hey dude, that thing looks good.
And the other way around as well,
Right.
right? Sometimes it feels like it doesn't feel good, and then you come in and they're like, oh, actually that board looks magic, and you're just asking yourself, what am I thinking?
Just add a little extra confusion.
So another surrender of priority there without putting anything on the board. Uncharacteristic. Gabriel uses priority, takes a wave on the backhand, nothing doing. We get a small number, a throwaway. Priority back with Seth Moniz now. 5-1 the requirement. Time ticking away, 8:45 to go. Jackson Baker makes his way out for a tough heat with a defending event champ in the form of Griff Colapinto. Got a 10 en route to that victory as well here last year. First one of the season.
I will say with Gabriel, though, that's one of the ways he surfs heats is just lots of reps. Same thing with Italo, lots of reps, because he doesn't necessarily need the best wave to win heats. He just needs to ride waves. So ultimately, I'm sure that that's part of his strategy. Is just like, hey, just catch as many waves as you want and can. You know, even though sometimes you use your priority, he doesn't hold on to priority very long. It would be kind of an interesting stat to keep on the surfers, like how long do surfers keep priority? Who's the ones who drop anchor? I think Tom Whitaker would be at the very top of dropping anchor and keeping, you know, in his career, whereas Gabe and Italo, they hold on to the less amount. And, you know, where's the success rate in that?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And if you see the people that Tom works with, he's actually able to just kind of see the best of each individual, because when he's working with Griffin, he's more on the catch and wave side of things. And he also has the X factor as Gabriel and Italo have, which turn mediocre waves into big scores.
Yeah, it's something that's it's really good to have. I would say that, especially on the QS, right? Like you start surfing heats with 4 other surfers, you want to be able to take a closeout and get an 8. So you have to have that in your repertoire.
It's not been a classic thus far between these two. 7 minutes and 15 remaining. Here goes Medina. His best score, a 6.33. Just hits it over the foam.
There we go.
Wow, really nice. Does he hang on? He does. And so smooth through that rotation with the speed. Makes it look easy. An exciting maneuver. The crowd love it, Jesse.
Yeah, that was great surfing for him. Just first setup. You know, when he took off on the wave, you could tell that he was just eyeing it down that big section in the end. He had second priority. Seth had a look and looked like the wave didn't have that much opportunity. And as you see right here, his bottom turn just aiming it all the way down, projecting that first turn, just getting speed and just launching right there. Back foot moved all the way to the front, almost laid back a little bit. Looked like he lost control of it, but he came out pretty clean.
I love the rail engagement too, right? It was up and over, straight into a bottom turn to air, right? And that's the judges eat that stuff up. If you're not pumping for speed in between maneuvers, they're gonna just swallow it up and throw out 7s. That's where I'm going with this one, at least.
Yeah, that was great flow from him, and that's something that Gabriel's amazing of it.
Nitpick that part right there, the layback. You know, that's like in snowboarding or skating, you know, putting your hand down. Yeah, that definitely affects. You want to grease those landings, definitely, but still, I mean, we're water, right? It's going to happen in surfing.
Super technical as well. Where he got that landing done, it was on the bottom part of the curtain of the wave as well.
Look at the judges. They didn't like it with the head layback.
The judges aren't overly seduced. 5-5 in for Gabriel. You picked it up, Pete.
That's what I get. I get kicked off the panel.
Your score's been deleted. Your comments will stay on the record. And Gabriel Medina's record will show he got a 5-5 for that. His total goes up to 11.83. It's pretty decent. What it also does is apply a bit more pressure to Seth Moniz, who had priority for that wave, decided not to take it, looking for a 6-1-7.
And just to justify that, though, I think that the judges did take that thought of, you know, the fact that they laid back and didn't pull it clean.
Medina on the backhand, big whipping hanger. Look at that spray. And Medina looking for a finish on the inside. The second turn was venom. And he'll just bring this one all the way in.
Wasn't he just on the inside waving for a ski? How the heck did that happen?
That was incredible. Those guys are capable of doing those magics.
That was crazy. He literally jumped off the ski and then just jumped into a wave.
And he was pumped on that one. Had a little fist pump. Great read wave for him.
Yeah, that single maneuver that we saw, that backhand hook, beautiful. A lot of spray, very critical section. And this could be better than the air. We'll see.
Medina applying pressure to Seth Moniz here, getting multiple waves from under priority. Let's have a look, Jesse.
Nice floater right there. And as we speak, just a lot of drive throughout those bottom turns and just not even having to pump or anything, just going rail to rail, able to stick that very big second turn. And right here, just trying to go through this little flat section and finish it off pretty strong right there.
He's one of the best at having kind of that mid-face bottom turn that jumps up on the lip. So he actually creates a maneuver, but it actually gives him speed to go into this section here. He literally jumped up for floater, but that's that extra using gravity to get you down into the bottom turn and then just straight up hook. Like he does that so many times on the back end where he's able to just get the floater going, and it's actually a speed move.
Score in for that was his 10th wave. It's a 6-4-3. The busy approach paying off, his highest score. And the requirement now for Seth Moniz, it's back up. There's the spread for the panel, so they were much more into that than they were for the forehand air. And Seth Moniz now 7-0-9. He feels the last 10, maybe 8 minutes, just a touch lost perhaps out there, Seth.
Yes. Looked like he's almost getting too peaky because Gabriel's just applying pressure, making the gap a little bigger, and almost now he has to be very peaky because he's needing a big score of 7.09. And Gabriel just taking advantage that he has no priority and just capitalize on every wave he catches.
That was exactly the point you made, Pete, about Gabriel not holding on to priority. And since he lost that priority with just a throwaway score, a couple of waves from him, and he gets his high score basically by virtue of the fact he's just slightly further inside.
And just rolling the dice, really. I mean, you think you're looking for something that's really not there, right? That's for Seth's like, okay, well, there's got to be a good wave here at some point. Whereas Gabriel's just like, okay, this looks like it might have some opportunity, and he drops in on it, and all of a sudden something forms up for him.
Thinking about applying pressure. How's that for a little bit of physical proximity? Medina, maybe 20 centimeters from Seth Moniz's rail. Real close, real tight.
And you wonder, I mean, some of the things that you could do there is like, you know, splash a little water, or, you know, your energy is there. And I think that's the part of going up there and close. We see it a lot, you know, where you get nice and close.
I think it's just the fact that it annoys the person because he has the whole lineup. He could stay 6 feet away, but no, he's just sitting right on top of you. And even though you have the right of way for anything, it just bothers the heck out of you when you're in the heat.
Medina will keep swinging here on the backhand. Gabriel off the bottom, clips one with speed, gets a little caught, and that takes his speed away. And that wave will also just diminish before him. So Gabriel with just over 90, just paddling back out now. Seth Moniz got to go something. He's been real patient for a while, a little too patient, we can say, with the benefit of hindsight, just the way the scoreboard's gone. And he needs to go something. And as you mentioned, Jesse, he needs a bit of quality now because 7-0-9, that'll need to be the high score of the heat.
He has 2 options, actually. Just wait for the bomb and get a very clean wave to apply a few turns, or just get a big closeout and go huge, like, which that would be an air, you know? So, yeah, 2 options there for him in my mind right now.
What he doesn't have is loads of time. Final minute now as we watch Gabriel on a left, drops in off the bottom, bang, and goes with another rotation again. It's really smooth at speed. It's collected beautifully. And then he just repositions for a clip off the top as well. Gabriel, well, he's got the bit between his teeth here, and this is what he'll do.
I mean, we saw him. I was like in my mind going, why is he going on the wave right here? Like, literally, why? And sure enough, he saw it. It had opportunity, and that was the best error we saw, at least in this heat for sure. But it could be an improvement. It really could, because that was as clean as could be. You know, that one had the rotation all the way around, and then lands and just goes into a maneuver, which is pretty cool too.
Number drops in, doesn't get an improvement.
Really?
Scores remain the same. The situation is the same for Moniz. 7-0-9, paddled for a wave. with under 50 to go and doesn't get into it. And that'll just kind of sum up the back half of the heat. Frustration for Seth Muniz. Got himself into it with the 5, 6, 7, but unable really to kick on from there. And Gabriel Medina's been pretty dominant, and he'll get absolutely mobbed back on the beach. He's out of the round of 32, and we feel like he's only really just getting started in this event. Loads more to come from Gabriel Medina. He'll be delighted with the win, though. Disappointment for Seth Muniz. Gabriel Medina, after 40 minutes of entertaining the crowd at Super 2 Boss, he's through to the next round. More live action to bring you. We've got the defending event champion in the form of Griff Colapinto taking on Jacko Baker. Stay tuned.
The Male Rip Curl Pro Portugal, presented by Corona, is brought to you by MEO, official title partner of the Male Rip Curl Pro Portugal, by Rip Curl, the ultimate surfing company, and by Corona. This is living.
Welcome back to Peniche, Super 2 Boss, the venue, and it's the final heat of the round of 32. We'll see defending champ Griffin Colapinto of San Clemente, California, taking on Jackson Baker, Newcastle, Australia. Two heavyweight surf towns battling it out. Colapinto will be very much buoyed by his performance and result here last year. Jackson Baker looking to take a scalp. And from judging what we saw in that last heat, opportunities out there, wave selection as ever important, and a little bit of everything in terms of maneuvers, right, Jesse?
Yes, I guess these conditions are kind of giving them the opportunity to do multiple type of wave choices and also turn choices. And as we see here, Jackson Baker starting pretty quick, Griffin being a little bit more selective, but I don't think that's going to be the case for this heat. Griffin likes to catch a lot of waves, and he's very capable of turning very mediocre waves into big scores. So could be an exciting heat.
It's like Jackson's in a short sleeve. I would say it's on the colder side to be wearing a short sleeve out there. I mean, but I guess 40 minutes and you're paddling hard, you're not really going to feel it. But man, it's chilly for a short sleeve.
Jackson Baker looking to get something going on this year. Ever aware that mid-season cut is coming. Not really where he wants to be right now. 24th place on the rankings. And he needs a result here in Portugal before he heads back down under 2 events in his home nation. Let's check out Griff. Here's Colapinto on a nice looking right-hander off the bottom, sets up, just engages that rail and just kind of digs it in front of the pocket. Just putting himself back, really. And then looking down the line here for some lip, which he finds. And he throws up the blow tail. Doesn't quite collect on the landing. So unable to put the finish he was after on that wave.
Felt like he had his front foot pushing a little too hard on it. There was a couple digs in there, you know, front foot. He likes to kind of have that nice balanced back and front foot thing because that's how he rotates the tail around. But you could see, I mean, the wave isn't an easy wave, but you see how he digs there, pushing hard on that front foot, trying to put that rail in. Same thing there. Two kind of digs through those maneuvers. and then there goes for the air and has the fall. I think he knew at that point, like, hey, I got to go and do something pretty big on the inside. As we see Tom Whitaker, he's like, oh, yep, that was the fall at the end. So that is a warm-up wave. Hopefully he can make an adjustment.
Griff on the back of the Red Bull ski, making his way into the lineup. Doesn't need to punch through Whitewater. Just bide his time out there. Start thinking about sort of wave he wants to find himself. Gets a small number in, 3:17 for his first effort. A couple of throwaways for Jackson Baker. Pete?
Yeah, in regards to Jackson Baker and how he's going to take a win here, like one of the things I think Jackson brings to the table, he has this great flow. He has this ability to hold speed all the way through his maneuvers. And I think that's some of the tricks that he's going to have here. I don't think he necessarily has to go to the air and try and beat the same firepower. At this point, just go down there and connect with the wave, get some speed, and, you know, combination of major moves is where he needs to be in this one.
Speaking of firepower, Medina is with AJ.
Gabriel certainly had plenty of firepower in that heat, but you had to deal with a long break before you could get in the water. How did you prepare mentally?
Yeah, I mean, I've been waking up really early, so yeah, first light I was on the beach, just waiting for the call. And yeah, the condition was really tricky this morning. Yeah, that was good. We took a break, and I felt like we could get more waves, you know, surf more in that heat. But I'm happy with my scores, and I mean, just try to get waves really. And yeah, but the condition was better than this morning, so that was a good call.
You got some waves, I would say, and some airs as well. Walk us through what you were seeing on those waves.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to make the most of it because, yeah, I was getting wave like with two good sections, you know. So I was just trying to do one big pun, and yeah, I could do a few airs. So it's good when you land some airs, and you know, just keep your motivation. Even, you know, you want to go there and go bigger. So yeah, I'm happy with my airs.
Speaking of bigger, this crowd turned out for you. It took him quite a few minutes to get up just because everybody wanted an autograph and a picture. What does it mean to see all these fans in Portugal?
It means a lot to me. You know, the tour is long during the year, and we've been here quite a few years, you know, so it's good to have this support and love from them. And you know, they are here just to watch us. It's funny, they get happy when we're surfing. But yeah, I appreciate it, and yeah, I'm happy to be in Portugal. It's a really good place to be.
Plenty of fans here at home. Você quer mandar mensagem para o Brasil?
Yes. Obrigado a todos do Brasil. Feliz de ter passado. Agora continuar indo, né? Esperar amanhã. Acho que vai ter ondas boas e outro dia de onda grande. Então, tô feliz de estar no próximo round.
Parabéns.
Obrigado. Seu português está melhorando.
Un momento. Now back to you.
Medina feeling the love here in Portugal. We're feeling his performances too. It's not throwing down 8s and 9s and huge banging performances, but it's ominous the way he's just coming into form. He seems very relaxed, and I feel like his best is yet to come. And Jesse, that's what you want in a CT, right? You want to peak towards the final heats, obviously finals day.
Yes, I like to mention that those top guys, they're very good at just going a little bit better than you in every heat they go. So as soon as you blow up, they're going to blow up just a little bit more. So they tend to save a little bit and just really put into fifth gear by the end of the event.
So during that cross, a score for Jackson Baker, 4 points for him. The rail work, you mentioned it, Pete, doesn't need to try and match necessarily the maneuver selection of Griff, do his own thing, stick to his own surfing, that's what he was doing.
Yeah, exactly. The problem was that he missed the first turn a little bit. You know, he tried to go a little bit high in the lip and got stuck for a second and kind of upset his flow, and then he kind of regained it. That's why it was only a 4-point ride. You know, the major section that he had there, he kind of missed. Judges took note of that.
Here he goes again, Jackson Baker on a right-hander. And a little crease in the face. He sets up a snap. Now this one will stand up for him. Bang, big spray. That's a classic Baker turn. He gets that tail tap at the end of it. It's always smooth and controlled right behind him. Cola Pinto sets up himself on the rail and then easy off the bottom, hard off the top. Collects with heats of speed. Still going down the line. He'll see a section. He'll take it on. Never easy to do. even for the world's best. He'll go down on the final maneuver. Nice exchange there, Jesse.
Yeah, that was a great exchange for him. It looked like Griffin was probably going to get the better of it if he landed that last turn, but ended up falling. When you're going against the grain over the hump, and there's that much water coming against you, it gets very hard for you to generate enough speed to ride out of those. But right here, as you see, he bottom turns, really gets a lot of like spark on that turn, and right there he's going over the hump. As soon as he hits that section, he doesn't have enough speed, and the wave just eats him alive. So yeah, that was a bummer for him because he probably would have got the best score of the heat so far.
Seemed like he had the adjustment too on that back foot, a little more pressure as he was driving through that cutback on the first maneuver. Didn't see the board dig there. Then watching Jackson Baker, first section here, it lays down, so he has to carve it back, but it sets up here with that big turn. That's that spray. Such great technique from Jackson Baker. He's able to lay the board at that right angle right before he hits the lip, and actually gets the spray started before he hits the lip, because usually when you hit the lip, it's just, you're not going to throw in spray, but he knows how to time it perfectly where he gets that chuck of spray, and that's an impactful move. When the judges see that just big sparks going flying out into the air, it's actually, Jackson has this ability, it's almost like he shoots it out of a cannon, right? He just whacks it up there, and it's just a great timing effort. And then when he's actually connecting with the lip too at the same time, which is what the judges want to see.
Incisive technique from Jackson Baker. Just waiting for one judge to throw in their opinion of it before we get the number. We'll be in the leads for the time being, at least in this one. Just over 29.5 to go. Plenty of time. 5-1-7, the score comes in. Prior to that, 4-1-7 for Griff. So just comparing that exchange and obviously that missed final turn from Griff. Jackson Baker getting the better of it by about a point. Or by exactly a point, in fact.
Yes, and that's probably the finishing move for Griffin. If he had landed that thing, we would probably be seeing him going on that mid-5 range. And unfortunately for him, a little bit of missed opportunity, but almost only so much you can do, you know, and the condition doesn't deliver as nice as he was hoping for. But now he's going to have to just regroup, reset, and really try and catch up. He's not far ahead, Jackson Baker, but he's getting and building some momentum. Looks like some speakers right there in the hand.
They're singing. Well, a little karaoke on the beach.
Serenading the surfers.
I love it.
Getting
Portugal
the vibes going. The crowd here, they'll camp out for the day. We're going on hold. We're not seeing a mass exodus for the beach. People just posting up, chilling for the afternoon, enjoying the sunshine today. And really just soaking up the beach vibes here. Loving seeing the world's best surfers back in Europe. We only get one glimpse in Europe these days. And as a result of that, this event better supported than ever. Huge numbers here throughout the weekends. We talked about the Medina buzz. We certainly felt that earlier this afternoon. And the numbers here right now supporting Jackson Baker and Griff Colapinto. And at the moment, it is the Australian with the better of this. Thus far, reasonable numbers creeping up towards mid-range. It's exactly what we saw in that last heat. Scores improved as the surfing improved, and it's kind of what we expect in these kind of conditions, Pete.
Yeah, well, they still have a lot of time, right? So you can kind of build up with 40 minutes. See what Jackson can do. He's been sitting on that peak right off the rip. The right's going into it. That's where he feels most comfortable. You can see Griffin just to the south there. Maybe an opportunity.
Baker with priority at the apex of the peak, and you see from above there, that one went soft. The reason why, you see that crease in front, that line as well, just broken up. So you get a double up, but not in a good way, one that takes the energy away by that lump in front. Meanwhile, here's Griff from under Jackson's priority. He'll punt, and he'll get the rotation done, and then just swoop back for a finish. Crowd enjoying it with a nice ripple of applause. Not the most outrageous aerial maneuver we've seen from Griff, but nicely done, smooth, and crucially, he landed it.
Yeah, and he did. You watch here, he nose picks it. So this is one of the techniques you can have in your landing, is landing on the nose of your board, which actually softens the landing. Section was fairly soft as well, so the judges will take all of that into note. The fact that he didn't fully rotate, all of those little intricacies that you see in an aerial. Watching this angle here, but look at the nose pick. Front foot all the way onto the nose. That's why they wax all the way up there. And then the back foot comes up above the grip. So everything moves forward on the board to rotate around. And you don't expect a huge number out of here, just in comparison to what we saw from Gabriel in the heat before in relation to the air. So you would say that that one wasn't as good as Gabriel's, but we'll see what the judges think.
Yeah, numbers in 3-8 for him. Meanwhile, Baker being picky on these right-handers. He's let a couple go. He likes to look at this one, though. And in the white water, it will steepen up. And that one basically got into the rip, and it looked like the one before was a bit cleaner and juicier. So interesting call.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, is it must be very confusing, because ultimately he felt like that was going to be the one that had a little bit of water moving in towards the shoreline, and all of a sudden you take off and the wave just disappears on you. And so it's a hard read. It isn't easy. You think that the best of the best, you're like, oh, this is the one, and all of a sudden you take off and it just disappears on you. Or you paddle into a wave and all of a sudden it loads up and turns into a nice barrel on the inside. So with all of the extra, wind on the lineup and the tide changing, it makes for a pretty challenging lineup.
Peniche, Portugal will always be a memorable place for this man, Griffin Colapinto. He's your defending champion. And last time out, in all sorts of conditions, we had big days, we had smaller stuff. He just looked deadly throughout.
He sure did, and you can watch some of the aerials he was able to produce at this event. But this surfing here is what got him into the finals. The backhand hooks, the combination of major moves, the foundation of surf, and then also utilizing aerials when it needed to.
Yeah, and you see Kolohe right there, hometown, probably hero for him growing up. Led the way for him, and they're very tight, so that's very good to see.
And following that result, Pete, do you think we saw a slightly different Griff on tour? More of a contender, more assertive, more sure of himself?
I don't know if there was a major difference in my eyes. Personally, I think that he always believed that he was going to be a winner at some point. It's just nice when it happens.
Looks like we have a replay here from away from Griffin, and that was a very nice, oh my gosh. Unfortunately, he ended up, as he landed, the backwash was coming, so it just compressed him against the board and just made him go over the handlebars. And unfortunately for him, because that was for sure going to be the best wave of the heat.
For sure, two big moves on a big sections like that, big meaty sections, for sure that was going to be the best wave. So leaving the door open in a big way, because that was an opportunity lost.
And probably by a good margin too, because if you look back at Jackson Baker's 5.17, smaller wave, very critical last turn, but definitely not as critical as Griffin, and he had a taller wave. First turn was even more critical. So yeah, unfortunately for him, that backwash is not helping him out.
Yeah, he pulls that last move. It goes, sevens probably. So 2-point difference, 6-5 sevens.
No surprise to see Griffin Colapinto taking risks out here, surfing with aggression, but just looking at this heat and also just considering the previous one as well with Seth and Gabriel. People who are leaving their biggest turn for that final turn, trying to get the score on the last maneuver. It's been really tough the way this whitewater is, the way this is exploded.
And the backwash. It really is a lot about the backwash too. I mean, it's coming off the beach. It's with higher tide. We saw it last night. It's definitely a factor. It makes the lip uneven. You got wind coming this way. Here we go.
Here goes Jackson Baker. Backhand drives off the bottom. And nothing happening for him there on that wave. He'll flick off. Colapinto will collect priority in the lineup, looking for a number. 5-0-1. It's the requirement for Griff. Won't be overly concerned by that number, particularly just be looking at the best possible wave comes through. Still bags of time in this heat. And it's been a battle of the mid-range numbers so far. The Australian with the better of them. Griffin Colapinto is on the prowl. You just feel like something big's coming from him, Jesse.
Yeah, that's what you expect from him always. I think any condition, he's very dangerous. And now with priority, it looks like he's not even going to wait. He's just going for it.
Here he goes. A concerted paddle effort. He gets on. Colapinto looking for a big projection floater, covers loads of ground and then tags it with drift on the end. It's the combination of turns with the speed, no downtime between. That's nice.
Sure is. And you watched him paddle into that wave. He identified that it had all that energy pushing in down the line. So he chased it down, got into it, and you can see it just loads up. And look how big the wave got right as he drops in. Big float there, carries that speed. Had to hit it hard on that last section there. The two turns are going to be most likely the best wave of the heat.
And it's super cool to see it right there. He's so late, and that just shows how much board control he has. He hit it very late, but he still was able to put a lot of drift on that tail. So see here, coming from a floater, like you said, Pete, just generating a lot of speed. And as soon as he hit the bottom, the wave's kind of breaking, and he just finishes it off very strongly with a nice blow tail in the end.
Trusting in the equipment. It looks real loose and sprightly under his feet. taking him to places where he wants to go on the wave, adding a little extra squirt on the floater as well, wasn't he? Just seemed kind of riding that lip line.
It's always interesting to kind of go up into the judges' booth and hang out for a few. I went and did that today. Spent a heat up there. Just watched how all the judges work.
That's your idea of a good time, Pete? Hanging with the judges?
I like to understand. I like to see if any changes up there. You know, hanging out with the judges. They're good surfers. They're good guys. I can attest to that. But very quiet. You know, generally he's usually. There's the head judge be a bit more chatter and stuff like that, and a lot more opinion from the head judge. Not anymore. It seems that it all is really about conducting. You know, they've got the instant replay. They use it pretty much all the time. So an example being this 5.67, he would have been comparing it to the 5.17 of Jackson Baker.
Colapinto, live action on left-hander. It's a little slopey early on, and then he goes massive backside rotation, tail high, and he stomps it clean. We've seen him do that before, but hang on, here's Baker right behind him with a section. He'll tag it. There's the spray, and he likes it as well. So a nice exchange there, and judges, we're just talking about them. They got some work to do here.
They do, and now it's a little different style of wave, right? I don't know how the beginning of this wave for Jackson Baker went up. He kind of liked it, obviously. But I don't know where that backside air came from. I mean, we know he can do them, but he wasn't going with a lot of speed at that point, and somehow got a lot of pop.
And that's what we're talking about. As you see here, Jackson Baker, nice projection, and then going straight into a nice closeout. That was great timing from him, but I think the dangerous part was just Griffin. And as we speak here, just a nice drive through that turn. Throwing a lot of spray, as you mentioned, Pete, always timing it so well and so much speed throughout his whole wave. But Griffin just being able to identify waves that most likely would have been unreading, but he just saw that there's a potential for an air right there and just boosting, landing it backwards, which is very tough for you to do in your backhand, and just riding it out pretty nicely.
One more time from the drone angle. We'll get a look at it, but he sets it, a little stall there, sets it up. Timing is everything in big airs, and he timed it perfectly. The waft that he gets, look at this, just backhand way different, right? You're still moving forward on your board, but not as much as you would do on your forehand. And ultimately you're blind in your landing unless you're rotating completely around. In that moment, he's just figured it out.
We had a feeling something big was going to come from Griff Colapinto. Tell you what, he doesn't disappoint. Judges will give that a number. In the meantime, we'll stick with the live. And here is Griff Colapinto on a great looking wave. Layback jam with drift on a big section. And he's fired up here. He's going through his repertoire of maneuvers. He also looks like he's having lots of fun.
Yeah, that was incredible for Griffin. I'm actually super excited to see what that score is going to come for that layback. Just such a tall wave, so much speed, just really applying pressure to the back foot. Great release on that layback and just clean and excited.
First time we've seen a nice vertical clean face, really, and with a bunch of speed for Griffin. So this is going to be a solid number, even it's just the one maneuver.
What a momentum shift right there, right? Like you see Griffin getting a 5.67, going into that backside air, and then just finishing it off as soon as he got to the lineup again, getting that third wave back to back.
Previous to last of Griff, the backhand rotation 7.83, close to the excellent range. Got another number to come in as well. Jackson Baker's score improved with the 6.17, but Griff in the lead now. Jack is going to need to go up into those sevens or better, and there's still loads more time in this heat. 17 minutes and change remaining.
And you think about it, that really was only the one move, was the air, right? The first turn was literally just a carve back into it. It was all the air that came with the 7.83. And I'm trying to think of what it was that had the differences, say, to Gabriel's aerial reverse, you know. It was the loft, it was the pop, it was the inversion that he had on the backhand. He was upside down. You can see the bottom of his board, and the landing. If you watch again here, I'm sure we'll see it at some point, is you just watch the landing. He greased it. He came out of it really nicely.
And also the fact that he did it backside. So as you mentioned, when you're doing a not a full rotation backside, just a standard one as he did, probably 80% of the turn you're not watching your landing. So that just makes it very tricky and very sketchy for who's on top of the board. So that was very technical from him.
Griff ain't hanging about for his score to come in. He's going again on the rail. It looks so loose out there and free and liberated. And he'll have a bit of a cushion now. That's just a quick throwaway for him, but his previous comes in a 6-6. He's got big numbers here. He'll get a small throwaway for his last effort, but he's got 14.43 out of 20. We've still got 16 minutes. Strider, let's talk some equipment.
Yeah, you know, I just wanted to know what the difference of surfboards these guys are riding out there. So I caught up with Mitchell Ross, Baker's coach, and he was telling me that he's out there on a 511. It was about 30 liters in it. So, you know, and then you come up against somebody like Griffin Colapinto. He's riding a 6.0. So, and he's also riding about 30 liters. So one with a little bit more length, meaning that the rail line's probably a little more defined and tapered. And then the other one a little shorter, but with the same cubic liters, which means, you know, the volume within the board at the same 30. So, you know, I think that one's just a little shorter and stubbier. I'd say maybe just matching the surfer's style and stature with Baker, and then the longer, kind of more drawn out with Griffin Colapinto. They both look like they're working amazingly and suiting their styles of surfing perfectly. I mean, the way that Baker's hitting those sections and pushing really hard in those compact zones and flying out of those turns with spray everywhere. And then you got Colapinto, just big, beautiful, smooth surfing, as well as those knifing snaps into the top and that big air we saw out of him. So his board allowing him to do everything.
I'd have to say they're probably similar weights, right? And Griffin's probably got an inch or two in height in comparison to, you know, so the surfboards kind of reflect that as well.
Griffin Colapinto, defending event champ. He's in command of this one. Jackson Baker needs to go into the excellent range to get back at him. Join us for the rest of this heat right after this.
The MEO, unwanted shapes, dare to test. I've been very fortunate, myself, Peter here, to work with these folks at the unwanted shapes. This is the unwanted shapes and eco shapes. We're trying to be full performance by 2028 with zero impact, which means we're trying to get performance boards that are eco-friendly, boards that we can recycle. You know, you talk about styrofoam. Styrofoam we can recycle. Polyfoam we cannot. So there's a nice thing there. We can test both poly as well as eco styrofoam. And ultimately, we'd like to see that performance. And by 2028, we're going to have zero impact.
Great activation from our title sponsor, MEO. This is the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal, presented by Corona. This is the final 12 minutes of our last heat of an eventful day. Just 2 heats of the men round to clean up. That's what we came back to do this afternoon. Medina getting the nod over Seth Meniz in the previous heat. Right now in the water, it's Griff Colapinto, winner, of course, here last year. And he's having a really fun heat. He's just nudged those scores, those performances up pretty much every time he's paddled into a wave throughout the mid part of this heat. And Jackson Baker, it's a big, big ask, Jesse. You need an 8-point ride. Time's on his side. He's got a bit of time. How do you find a good 8 out there?
Yes, this is a tough moment for Jacko because not just he needs an excellent score, Griffin's waves were actually a big standard. So Griffin's 7.83 was a very radical progressive maneuver. And so that's just going to be the scoring for you to get there a little bit tougher.
Yeah, he has a special way, right? I mean, Jackson doesn't necessarily always bring out, not that he can't do it, but consistently we see Griffin pulling off moves like that. So he doesn't need the same quality wave to get bigger numbers. And so that makes it a little tougher for Jackson. He needs to have a wave that's going to give him like 2 sections. He has the ability with the 2-turn combos to go excellent. It just needs a wave that's going to allow him to do that. And if you look out there, it's not easy to find him like that.
We were talking about the role of the coaches earlier. Louisa Florence has been chatting to Mitchell Ross, Jackson Baker's coach.
Yes, I did. I was just trying to feel it out, his vibe. Jacko's such a cool guy. He was surfing right before he see different than Griffin, who just surfed this morning. And Mitch was telling me that he was feeling super confident, even though he doesn't have a big result here in Portugal like Griffin does, the defending champ, but he does have a huge cheering crowd for him. Carissa came back, just to see him surfing. Conor O'Leary, Callum Robson, Macy Callahan, they're all here to cheer for him. But let's see what's going to happen on this heat, because just one of them is moving to the round of 16.
Yeah, thanks, Hazel. Well, big cheers right now currently, and that roar is for this man. Jackson Baker's just tagged a wave all the way across the sandbar, finished up the other side of the scaffold, and he might find a way back into this heat here.
That's so true. I mean, think about what I was just talking about, the type of wave he was going to need to have. He found it, and he executed. Look at this, Jesse.
Yeah, that was a great wave for Jacko. Nice first turn, and this is the money turn right here, where he applies all the pressure and actually bringing a little bit more of an X factor, pushing a little harder than we expected and just finishing it off pretty strong. It's probably going to get a great score on the board.
Do we think it goes 8.25 needed?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be his best wave, but I think he's still going to have some work to do here. But with 9:20 to go, I would say that he's got time.
And that's, again, not lack of just abilities. I think it was just maybe a lack of one more big section like this one right here. He was probably looking very good.
Baker hitting it hard with that back foot pressure. If he was feeling any pressure from Griff Colapinto, he's replied in a decent way. 7-point ride. Because it's his high score, will bring his requirement down, make it a bit more modest. He needs a similar number to that, just a little extra on it. 7.44 now, the requirement for Jackson Baker.
Yes, and what's good for him right now in this heat, even though he doesn't have that much time left, and he's probably going to come back with second priority unless Griffin catches a wave. His requirement right now is very similar to his last wave, so in his mind is very clear what he's kind of looking for. He already felt it, what's something close to a 7.44, and it's going to be easier for him to identify those waves and those sections.
We mentioned his strong support, the Aussie contingent in full voice, as with our beach crowd as well. And he'll be further buoyed by that support, that vocal support from the beach around high tide. That's not a long way away. He'll have heard that encouragement, and he's just going to need to keep that energy going. He's also going to need to hope that Griff can't improve further, because he is looking loose, confident, comfortable. Colapinto showing us why he's so dangerous at this wave. He's got priority right now, and still plenty time yet to come, Pete. Over 7.5 minutes in this heat. We're really enjoying the entertainment factor.
Pretty cool, huh? I love that Jackson, even with that 7.83 and the crowd all lit up, that he's been not giving up. And that's what I think part of the resilience that he has. That's why Jackson is here on the championship tour, and that's why he's been staying on the championship tour and requalifying. He's found himself through the cut, and that's, again, the resilience that he has and the never give up attitude. It's kind of the Nui attitude, really. You think where he comes from, there's a long lineage of great surfers from MR to Simon De Hoyo to, I mean, it's literally Luke Egan. There's just a bunch of surfers that have come from that area that are still there and pushing each other. So yeah, that's part of, I love that there's this, these towns that produce these great surfers, and they do it over and over and over again.
Under 7 to go in this one. Let's check out the heat recap and see how it's gone so far. It's been Griffin Colapinto in the ascendancy. Hasn't had it all his way, though.
Yeah, that's great surfing for him, though. Always timing it so well, just applying pressure in the right part of the board and the wave, and just throwing buckets. And here, Griffin, just the X factor, right? Very average wave, but just turning into almost an excellent score.
Gotta love it, and that's what we expect from him too, is to be able to kind of produce those types of moves that get you excited. Gotta love this turn too. You know, a little something different, a little layback hook, drifts the fins, gets himself to 6.6. Those waves were right back to back. And then Jackson, the answer, wondering if he was going to find the opportunity, and he did. Beautiful first turn, straight into the bottom, drifting the fins a little more. Risk involved in that second maneuver, and somehow found another section. It would have been great to see him get that final section where it was almost like he tried to fit 2 in, just the timing. If he was able to get that final section and hit it really hard, that would have been probably the number.
Just over 5:45 remaining in this. Baker still on the hunt for a number. Desperately wants to get out of this round, looking for points before that mid-season cut that's looming large. Colapinto looking a little better in terms of the cut, obviously higher up in the ratings, but also himself. Well, after you got to win at a venue, he would love to go back to back here. Of course, a lot of rounds to run before we get there. But we're getting down to a stage where part of the reason why we came back today and we kind of picked the eyes out of the tide and the wind and that sort of stuff is we're shaping up the final few days of our waiting period, right? So we've got 3 left that we could possibly use. Forecast looks good for tomorrow and the next day, Tuesday, Wednesday.
That's right. If we can get a finals day on that Wednesday, the best of the wins of the waiting period that we saw forecast from Surfline was these next 2 days after this. Today would kind of look like a wash to me. So luckily we were able to kind of get through the round of 16 of women to really set that up. So we needed that extra time, and then the fact that we're finishing up these 2 heats here on the final day of the afternoon, it's key because we finished the round, right? And basically Renato was saying earlier today why that needed to happen is because if you put those 4 surfers into the beginning of the morning, you're making them surf an extra heat, which is something that kind of becomes an unfair, taking fatigue into play there.
Loads of talking points from a big day of action. Kaipo's going to come in for the Corona post show, joined by Pete and Strider as well. Loads of big points from this morning when we ran the women's round of 16. Let's get back to live here as we see Jackson Baker on a big right-hander, and that one runs away from him. You see the backwash get hold of the wave as well. There's still, even though the swell's dropped, there's still loads of energy out there and unable to get on the right side of the peak there.
Griffin identified that was going to be a big closeout, and you can see Jackson was trying to sell the lemon, didn't work.
And you see just Griffin having a sniff right there. Looked like it was probably like a great wave, but he's just adapting to the moment right now. Yes, as we see, he rode a lot of waves, and 5 minutes before this, he was just back-to-back, just riding waves, trying to capitalize in every opportunity he had. But right there, he probably wanted so bad as a surfer to go and surf a little more and just perform. But he knows that he's in the lead of the heat, and he just has to stay calm and kind of just play the game as it rolls right now.
Yeah, key priority, right? I mean, always one of the rules of thumbs is that if you have priority, the other surfer's not around, you don't need to ride a wave. You basically want to have control of the heat at the very back end of it right now, this last 5 minutes. So priority is a key element of controlling the heat. So you find the other athlete there, and you just want to keep those opportunities away from him.
And as you see him right there, he's paddling towards the right of the beach. And I could be wrong, but that looks like he's just trying to get closer because the skis usually are dropping everyone to the right of it because surfers are tending not to surf there so much. So he's just keeping a very close eye to where Jacko is going to get dropped off by the ski and just try to get as close as possible to him. So in case a wave comes in a random place that they're not expecting, he's right there to block it.
Doesn't seem in a particular hurry to get over there, just swinging the arms at a leisurely pace as he makes his way over towards Jackson Baker. With the priority advantage, Griff will look to try and control whatever sets come through. Just over 2 minutes for Baker. He wants to try and sell something, or multiple wave set come through. Give him an opportunity. The 7.44 is the requirement. It's well within his range, but he needs to go slightly better than anything he's got thus far today. And when you've been out for, well, 38 minutes, and you need to get something half a point better than your best so far, that's going to feel like quite a tall order, Pete.
It does, and especially with Griffin, who's hovering around you. That 40 minutes, and all of a sudden you're now down to just a minute 45 to try and find that quality wave. It is a daunting task, but not impossible.
Baker having a look here. Griff lets him go. It's a double up on the outside, and he is just ejected out of that, trying to avoid the lip, so no real opportunity to take on the lip there. And all he can do is kick out, maybe dip, and try and just sneak away a little bit to the left of your shot. Maybe find a bit of C room, a bit of elbow room. Doesn't seem like Griff's in a particular hurry to cover him.
Well, I think he just caught wind of it, saw that he was right there, so he was going to make a run over there. But no way is it panicked. You know, just a nice subtle paddle over there. Cover him. Yeah, you can see right there, he sees that he's like trying to get away. Nope, sorry, sir, I'm coming over.
Close to the final minute now. Baker's requirement unchanged, 7.44. And he'll be starting to feel the pressure here as we see the cadence of the paddling pick up slightly from Colapinto. He'll head close to him and look at the waves as well, make decisions about the points he feels are available as these sets come through. Something shaping out the back here. Colapinto can decide to go, just block, take the wave. But he decides on that one, it's pretty straight. It's going to be a closeout, nothing doing. 30 on the clock here. And this is exactly what you do when you've got priority. Look, the little turn of the head, keeping an eye on Jackson, who will have to go. So Griff says, no, I don't think so. Colapinto takes the wave. And he'll go down the line, looking for a ramp. Is he? Yeah, he is. He finds a section. And he throws it up, doesn't get the landing on that, and he'll just have a little look outside and see Jackson Baker up and riding. So he got himself the second wave of the set. Baker needs a big finish here, doesn't have loads of speed coming into that, and he knew it. He knew that wave didn't have the number he required. 7.44, disappointing for Jackson.
Yeah, it's too bad, but he kept it in the heat within range, right? He didn't get blown out of the water. He was there. Just a couple moments that unfortunately didn't go his way. It really came down to the backside air is what it came down to, really. You know, the fact that Griffin was able to manufacture a score on a wave that was less than stellar. I mean, the point potential on that wave looked very low, and Griffin turned it into a 7.83, and that really was the difference.
Colapinto's run in Portugal continues once again. Loads of talking points from a massive day of competition here. Kaipo, Pete, and Strider with the Corona post show right after this.
It's the Corona Post Show here at the MEO Rip Curl Pro Portugal, presented by Corona. And we got some visions right here of the mural at the corner here at Super Tubos, located on the peninsula of Peniche. And we had a split day of action today. Women in the morning, the men to finish off the day, and we are both down to the men's round of 16, the women's quarterfinals. I'm Kaipo, along with my friends Peter Mel, as well as Strider Wazalewski. Strider, going to you first. Your thoughts on what you just saw?
We had the two best surfers, I feel like, of the event matching up, possibly, next. And we got Gabriel Medina and you got Griffin Colapinto, who just really put on a show and were just looking amazing. And I think they're going to match up now. So it's going to be kind of a tough go. One of the best surfers in the event is going to lose out. And it's going to be tough, to watch. And I'm, anticipating that matchup coming up quick.
Pete, we got the quarterfinals set for the women.
It was a challenging day, I think, in regards to surf, really. It wasn't easy out there. There was a lot of bounce, a lot of challenge, swell increasing. So it wasn't an easy day, but the performances was there. You saw some upsets in that early rounds of the women. You would have to say that Griffin and both Gabe were probably the favorites going into those final two heats of the men, and they didn't disappoint. They put themselves up in the air, which is what we want to see from them. So I am excited, but like you had mentioned, now that matchup in the round of 16 is going to happen, and one of those surfers is going to have to go down. Yeah,
well, our defending champ made it through as we expected, as he was favored in his matchup against Jackson Baker. Let's hear from Griffin Colapinto.
Yes, he did, Kaipo, but Pete, like you said, it wasn't easy out there. You had a pretty exciting wipeout at the beginning. Talk us through what happened.
Oh, yeah, I think it was the first left, my first left. I did like a big jam and then went for the closeout, like high speed, and then right as I came down, my front foot just slid off the front of the board, and I swear I did like the nutsest splits you've ever seen. So I'm lucky that I'm all good.
All good you were. You managed to recover, get through the heat. What were you loving so much about these waves?
I like just like the fact that you kind of just gotta like read the ocean, and it's like you just never know when or where a wave's gonna pop up, and so it's like when it does, you're like, oh my gosh, here it is, and then you get all excited and make it happen. Yeah.
We've talked a lot about mentally what you have to do to get ready for your heats coming back to Portugal as the defending champ. There's an added element of that. How do you get yourself in the right mindset for every heat?
Just having fun. That's the mantra. So just doing that, and then frick, everyone in these contests now are like so good, and like Jackson's such a good surfer, and I think just every heat you gotta bring your best, and like every trick you have, you gotta be willing to pull it out, and none of this like, oh, I'm gonna wait to peak in the final anymore. It's like every heat, it's peak time.
And peaking you are right now. You're on to the next round. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, Griffin Colapinto matched up against Jackson Baker. Let's take a look at their matchup here in the round of 32. Jackson getting ready. Had a big challenge in front of him, Strider.
Yeah, he did, but you know what? It was surfing like that, explosive into the lip and really just decimating the lip line was just what he's got in his bag, which I really like to watch. But Pete, this is the kind of surfing that got Griffin over the top.
And it was done on a wave that wasn't that high quality, really. So ultimately, that's the kind of weapons that Griffin holds. He had a closeout, which basically was this one. It was the cleanest section we saw the entire heat, and he didn't disappoint whatsoever. This is a big drifting layback snap. That was a 6.6. The air was a 7.83, and they were really pretty much in 2 minutes of time.
Making quick work of it, our defending champ, Griffin Colapinto. Jackson Baker, always hammering it out there, but unfortunate for Jackson, he came up against the defending champ, but put up a great battle in that final heat of the day, and that sets us up for looking at the numbers. Like you said, Pete, 7.83, a 6.6 was enough to get through that heat against Jackson Baker for Griffin Colapinto. Well, Griffin Colapinto, going into the round of 16, is going to be faced up against Gabe Medina. So this is going to be their 6th time that these two are going to go against each other, Peter. Gabe's got 3 Griff's got 2. Let's see if Griffin can make it even. I want to see who do you think is going to take that matchup. I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
I'm not going to answer you. I'm going to wait for conditions. You know, I want to see maybe tomorrow. I'll go in with the when we look at it tomorrow, and then I'll answer you.
Well, I'll make it clear. I'm going for the guy in the mayhem. Just because we're after the Shapers rankings there, I'm just going to go for my home Shaper.
Yeah, that's right, because all of the rankings, the points start at the quarterfinals, so you got to make it to the quarterfinals if you want to gain some points. Let's take a look at Gabe Medina and Seth Moniz in their matchup.
This was another great one between these two. You know, Seth, unfortunately, in the back half of that heat, kind of got quiet. He sat back and let a lot of waves go by. I think he was looking for something that really wasn't there. Gabe just looked exactly what he was going to do. The strategy was to go out there and ride a ton of waves, and he did that, just built through the entire heat. He went to the air, and I don't even think some of his airs really counted as far as his total, because he had a couple nice airs that were done on some waves that just didn't get the points that I thought they were going to get.
His consistency is just unbelievable. I feel like you know, Seth's got everything in his repertoire to beat Gabriel, but just Gabriel came up so much stronger on wave choice that it was just, you know, defined his heat for him.
Well, he gave himself a ton of opportunities. I mean, he rode probably triple the amount of waves that Seth did. So that's what he does. I mean, in beach breaks, it's a good strategy just to ride a ton of waves. Sometimes it works for you, like it did for, you know, sometimes it might be bad because you're missing the best waves of the heat. But in a day like today, that strategy was solid, and it obviously paid off for him.
Well, when we look at the numbers right here, 12.76 was enough for Gabe Medina to move on into the round of 16. In the round of 16, again, that matchup between Griffin Colapinto is going to be an interesting matchup in a way that both of those surfers are past champions here. Griffin Colapinto, the defending champ. Gabe Medina, he took a win here in 2017. So that's going to be one that you're going to want to tune into. That's going to be heat number 8 of the round of 16 when we return to competition. When we look at our women's side of the draw, we're all the way to the quarterfinals for the ladies. So let's take a look at our women's quarterfinal brackets and some of those matchups there. And hopefully you can give me an opinion about some of those, Pete.
We'll see, Kaipo.
I'm just going to go. I'm going to go Strider first, actually, because I can count on Strider to give me an opinion. Quarterfinal number 1. Who's your pick?
That's a hard call because Tatiana, a winner out here, but Molly Picklum has been unbelievable. I feel like she is going to actually come out on top of that heat.
There we go.
And that's because I think that she is going to ride the barrel better than Tatiana Weston-Webb, which I think we're going to have tomorrow.
I appreciate your commitment as an analyst, Strider Wazalewski. So I'm going to give you a chance right now, Peter. Pick a quarterfinal, actually.
Oh, let's go with the veterans. Sally Fitzgibbons against Courtney Conalog. I really don't know what's going to happen in that. No. I like Courtney, actually. I just the energy that Courtney was carrying this morning earlier, it just felt like she was determined. And it wasn't like she was a stiff, you know, and super determined. It was a loose and confident determined. So I feel like Courtney's going to take that one over Sally. You like that?
I do.
What's your opinion on that one?
Why don't you just roll into quarterfinal number 3? You're on a roll. Yolanda Hopkins versus Macy Callahan.
I like Yolanda on that one, just because of how she surfs so solid throughout this event already. She is not scared, has nothing to lose.
Strider, the rookie quarterfinal. Caitlin Simmers versus Sophie McCulloch.
I think that Caitlin is going to come away with that one. I feel like she's got a recipe she's finally figured out, and that's lip line attack. And that's something that she did in her heat earlier today, and I think that's what she's going to do again.
But it's going to be barrels. Sophie's going to take that one.
Now Peter's got all kinds of things.
Wow, Pete.
So, hey, Peter, you know what you can help us with right now?
All right, what?
Help us with the Surfline forecast.
All right, well, we got offshore winds. The Surfline forecast has been mentioning about offshore winds throughout this 2 days coming up. And that's where our crew at Tours and Competitions has pushed us through today to make sure that we can be there for these 2 next days, which, again, are going to have swell. We're going to have an increase tomorrow, which means they're going to be solid, which is fingers crossed. We get the offshores with that, so it means we're going to go to barrels. And if you look at the morning and afternoon, little decrease in the afternoon tomorrow, and then we'll see the next day 5 to 8 foot, 4 to 7 foot. So we'll see that swell pick up and drop, but the offshore winds are really where we're at. You look at Thursday, which is the last day of our waiting period, dunky winds. So we'll stay away from that. We're going to finish the next 2 days.
Pulling out the dunky wind call, huh? All right.
Oh, okay. Hey, so we got some looking forward to. Like the Strider things were stacked up pretty well for us to crown champs for both the men and the women at stop number 3 of the championship tour. But you know what? It's that time. Peter, what time is it? What time is it?
Would it be the top 5, Kaipo?
It's the top 5 of the day.
And it's 5 o'clock.
Perfect. 5 o'clock local time, and let's go with our top 5 moments of today's competition. Strider, it was grindy this morning. There was some carnage.
Over the handlebars, straight through the board. I think Kurt got more of a workout in this one than he bargained for. He was running up with leashes. He was running up with surfboards. It was pretty fun to watch.
Then we, of course, had the tumble. Oops. It just gets a little wild sometimes. And a little bail out there for Molly Picklum. She laughed it off. No worries there.
Got to hold on to the bull.
Gotta hold on. Molly went on to win that heat, however, so great effort. And she's going to stay in that yellow jersey.
Another broken board.
Oh. Sucked over the falls into the vortex. Kapow! Straight through that thing. Got it together, though. Went back out and
Liam gets his shoes wet on the board exchange.
Great caddy right there. He experienced a loss, and so did she. Sorry, get back to that.
Yeah,
in that moment though, it was one of those things. Number 4.
Well, yeah, let's go number 4. These are some of the standout waves of the day. Pickles, Molly Picklum in the barrel and out.
Yeah, that was the only barrel of the day, right? I mean, there was 0 opportunities through. All of a sudden, this nice clean wave came through, and she was right on it.
What about Katie Simmers and her 7.83 Strider?
This backhand speed whip is what I was impressed with. The just flare on that right there, and I feel like that's gonna win the heat as she progresses on every time.
The timing that she caught that wave was impeccable too, because the momentum shift had gone to her competitor, and she finds this wave.
Rookie pressure. She showed up.
Number 3, it's Medina Madness. The machine is in gear again. Peter and Medina doing what he does.
Yeah, it's true. And one of the things that I think he's the most popular surfer here. They love him here in Portugal. And it's across the globe, really, because Brazilian fans are everywhere. But this guy has got a lot of love his way, and he taps into it in a big way.
He's just, when you see him in the water, you just go, wow, that's the best guy on the beach. Just the way his structure is, the way he moves through the water. He's moving with so much speed and power that you can't not take notice.
It's undeniable.
And say, hey, this guy, that's the best guy. And I think that, it's a very challenging guy to come up against mentally as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's move on to number 2, defending champ, Griffin Cola. Pinto Strider, he got what it take out here, and making Janice Aragon really proud, still repping that on his jersey.
Well, I mean, we talked about it. This guy is going to be coming up against Gabriel Medina in that last heat of the next round. He's got the firepower. By the numbers, apples to oranges, he outscored Medina on the day. So maybe if he can, I feel like he's got what it takes to take down Medina. Medina's going to have a little bit of off day in order for Colapinto to take him out. But Colapinto, look at that firepower above the lip right there.
Regardless, you're going to want to tune in for that heat. Number 1, Yo-Yo, Yolanda Hopkins. The Portuguese wild card, Peter, took down the 5-time world champ and took that yellow leader jersey off of her back.
Yeah, and it started out, she was able to find the bigger waves, the bigger sections, and she completed those moves. It was just those single maneuvers that she was able to do that, got the early lead and held on. And Carissa never found a chance to get that lead back, because Yolanda just kept pressuring, and you gotta love it. And she was definitely one of the, as Portugal, one of the now probably the most popular Portuguese surfer out there.
Yeah, and I want to clarify that when I say Yo-Yo takes the yellow leader jersey off Carissa's back, Yolanda will not have the yellow leader's jersey, but Carissa Moore will not have that yellow leader's jersey either. It will be Molly Picklum who will be moving to Bells still in that yellow leader's jersey, regardless of what the results are going forward on this.
Yeah, Brisa was the only one who, after that loss for Carissa, that could have taken the yellow jersey, but she lost out, unfortunately, too, today. So ultimately, yeah, the yellow jersey is going to be on Molly's back.
Yeah, well, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Strider.
You're welcome, Kaipo.
All of you for watching. Remember, tune into WorldSurfLeague.com, 6:50 a.m. Western European time tomorrow morning for the call, and enjoy the highlights from today. Aloha.
And a very good morning from Peniche, Portugal.
You heard the horn behind me, which means we are underway.
really powerful out there.
Just relentless from Molly, and she'll tag it great surfing from her.
Slashing off the top. Hangs on for the finish. Carissa Moore needs a 7.17. Hacks a big layback. And it looks like the Portuguese wild card is going to take down Carissa Moore.
What kind of confidence do you have going into that next round?
I don't know. I hope that we get super tubed.
Just hits it over the foam. Wow, really nice.
Griffin Colapinto is disguised back there behind the rowing machine.
And then he goes massive backside rotation, tail high.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.